Hello, and welcome to episode 1 of Sean Reviews Media, also known as Lack of a Better Idea Media, also known as Totally Lame Reviewer Reviews Totally Awesome Stuff. This is going to be a fairly informal vlog, but I'm going to be sticking to a format of an introduction, 2 to 3 reviews, and maybe once in a while I'll write a short essay piece. The introduction is going to be miscellaneous, but I want to use that time to address questions and comments about previous videos. And if people want to skip ahead of the introduction, I'm actually going to be annotating the times of the reviews, and those will be floating somewhere around my head. I'm saying media a lot, and I really do mean media, not just, this isn't going to be music and movie reviews only. There are going to be books, TV, comics, webcomics, other vlogs, maybe, and games. Not just video games, but card games, board games, and tabletop RPGs. Really, it's anything I think of and write about in a given week. Just to give you an idea of what the show is going to be like, in subsequent episodes I'm going to be reviewing The Lies of Locke Lamora by Scott Lynch. Very fun, very full of the F word. And later this month, actually, I'm going to be attending Evil Dead the Musical, where I paid something like $5 extra to be seated in the splatter zone, where I'm going to be coated with fake gore. It sounds really fun. I realize I keep saying the word review, but this isn't going to be deeply critical. I'm not calling this professional or anything. I'm not giving it thumbs up. I'm not giving it a score or stars. This is just going to be things I've run into, things I want to talk about, and what, in my opinion, worked and what maybe didn't. Right now I'm going to apologize for any sort of quality issues. All I have is my 2006 iMac, so onboard mic and webcam do not quit on me. I don't really have any lighting options between outside and inside, but I'm fairly reflective, so if it becomes a really big problem, I will change something. But right now, I think this will work. Okay, bulk of the intro aside, we're just going to do 2 reviews today, just to ease into the first episode. First up is Powerglove's Saturday Morning Apocalypse album, just dropped September 28th, and then we're going to be talking about Metalocalypse. Dethklok has a 3-issue miniseries comic out, and we're going to be talking about the first issue today. So, let's get started. Powerglove is a 4-piece power metal band from Boston that performs video game themes, usually from the 8 and 16-bit eras, which is mid-80s through the mid-90s. Saturday Morning Apocalypse is that same time frame, but with an entirely different focus. It zeroes in on cartoon and movie themes. Really quickly, I'm just going to read the track list. X-Men, Gotta Catch 'Em All, The Real Adventures of Johnny Quest, This Is Halloween, Batman, Transformers, Inspector Gadget, Heffalumps and Woozles, The Simpsons, The Flintstones, and Gotta Catch 'Em All, but that one has vocals. For those of you unfamiliar with the term power metal, it refers to a specific subgenre of metal that is usually on the quicker, more melodic, and more technical side of things. And this really fits the band and the album perfectly. The more I consider their technical ability, the more I think that they should be on Rock Band. Not even could be, but should be. They would be comparable in difficulty to Dragon Force or Yngwie Malmsteen, but it would be more fun to play because it's The Simpsons or X-Men or Pokemon. Just as important, though, is how well they've taken these themes and composed them at the level that they do. I gotta believe that it takes a lot of creative, not just creative effort, but creative capability. You know, what kind of person does it take to make Winnie the Pooh and the Flintstones metal? Who could possibly make the X-Men theme even more metal than it was? After doing the same thing with Sonic, Mario, and Tetris, it's pretty clearly Powerglove. That's what they do. I mentioned those 3 songs specifically because I feel like they're the strongest tracks on the album. This Is Halloween didn't really do it for me, and Batman felt unfamiliar. I didn't really watch Transformers as a kid, but even with as little as I did, I couldn't identify anything in that song. I think the whole catch is emotional connection. Like, I grew up loving the X-Men cartoon, and as a child, Heffalumps and Woozles, that scene kind of unsettled me. It was kind of creepy for a little kid, but they stuck with me, and to have them show up again as forms of music that I already enjoy stacks the odds. Still, that's not to say that just because I love something means that everything related to it is really good. I loved the Tim Burton Batman movies, I adored the cartoon, and this rendition, it didn't click. I didn't really feel it. Saturday Morning Apocalypse, regardless of my personal favorites, is definitely worth listening to, regardless of age. But if you were a kid in the 90s, it's not just rewrap nostalgia. It's this epic, well-crafted gift to not even who you were, but in some small part still are. This album is for you. Ugh, the sun is setting and I'm running out of light. Metalocalypse. This part contains spoilers. In the setting of Metalocalypse, the band Dethklok is the biggest band in the world. Not big like the Beatles or U2, though, because the world economy doesn't crash if Bono and friends don't produce albums. As a band, Dethklok has more money than most nations and godlike popularity. In concerts, their fans often die in gruesome ways, and survivors treat horrific injury like badges of honor. There's even a saying that goes around the fandom. It's "die for Dethklok." Everyone's just so obsessed with death because they're a death metal band, I guess. Episodes of Metalocalypse usually contain the same few things. There's a song, there's violent, gory death, the band members act like divas, they're very ridiculous and entitled, and usually there's some conflict about the profitability or the productivity of the band. New albums and new merchandise are usually the answer. They've done the phone, they've done fashion, they've done... they did commercials for candy and nickels and all sorts of things. But usually when the band themselves are involved in the design process, it goes really wrong. The phone, for example, the Death Phone, is covered in blades. And when people try to talk on it, they stab themselves in the face. It's important to know Metalocalypse's usual fare because the comic follows the same exact pattern. This time we're told that the band is introducing an item we've never seen coming, and it's mostly true. It's called Hypotherma Foods, and it's Dethklok's line of frozen foods and microwavable dinners, and they're all in dark, spiky boxes. Some of them look very bloody, and they've got names like Hypoxia in a Box and Black Toe Pasta in Blood. Almost immediately, people stop eating altogether. They want their next meal to be Dethklok's Hypotherma Foods. The problem is, it takes so much time that everyone's just sort of dying in the streets. At this point, the band makes two huge mistakes. They try to freeze all the food in liquid nitrogen, and then, when it's frozen solid, they worry that it won't be thawed in time for the sort of unveiling concert. So in order to make sure it's all ready to eat, they decide, let's just leave it out in the sun. It's nature's oven. Naturally, this blunder leads to the worst case of food poisoning ever, and everybody at the concert is just vomiting and dying. I like Metalocalypse a lot. I think Brendan Small did a fantastic job with the cartoon, and with the music especially. I didn't know that there could be metal that heavy that was still palatable, but I feel like I got robbed with this comic. It felt even shorter than the older 15-minute episodes, and the jokes that were there were really low-key, like the Shackleton's surprise, one of the frozen meals. The 2 pages on Dr. Roxo were totally unrelated to the main story in the comic. I feel like that was sort of wasted space. There was still a song in there, but it was all one sound effect, chugada, and then just Nathan's speech bubbles. And I say robbed because this book retails for $4. It's just way too expensive for a self-contained story. If the next 2 end up tying into it really well, I could see myself changing my mind. But I do not recommend buying Dethklok #1 on its own. Alright, that's it for today. Next time we'll have more content in less time. Thanks for watching.